Hey guys, it's your best boxing friends. I'm Kelsey. This is Rachel. Rachel, somewhat historic event happened over the weekend when a 40-year-old Manny Pacquiao defeated Keith Thurman by split decision. And not only that, he looked awesome doing it. Like, I was super impressed with Manny Pacquiao's performance. Rachel, what did you think about Manny Pacquiao beating Keith Thurman?
I was so excited for it. And I remember I was a little bit sleepy
Yeah.
during the fight right before it. And Kelsey turned to me and he was like, "You can't go to sleep." And I was like, "I'm just resting because every round of this fight is the same."
Yeah.
But when the main event started, I was so excited for it that I was immediately awake.
Yeah, I felt energized watching it.
I was just so excited. And yeah, Pacquiao came out. Was he the same Pacquiao in like 2009? No, but like as close as
As close as we're gonna get when he's 40. It was amazing, especially through the first 6 rounds. It was almost like I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was seeing Pacquiao, who was fast, aggressive, had vigor about what he was doing, and really smartly. But he used his right hook really effectively early in the fight, and that's actually the punch that sent Thurman down the canvas in round 1. And he really was just amazing. He was a two-fisted terror. He was a tornado of action.
And he was able to do that because it was clear that Thurman had. I mean, we knew Thurman had the reach advantage, but then sometimes when you see fighters get in the ring, you can really see how much whether or not it's an advantage. And like it was clear to me, I was like, man, that is like hard, even for somebody like Pacquiao who comes from all these different angles. And like that's one of his signature things is being able to get in and out. And
Yeah, so on the surface, a short-armed, old, aggressive fighter who really I also think it's notable that Pacquiao seemed really up for this fight. And as a fighter gets older, and especially one that he's the only fighter in boxing history who's won world titles in 8 different weight classes. That's something. So I could see how even just having done all that, having been the preeminent fighter of the era alongside Floyd Mayweather Jr., having done all that, not being able to get up for a guy like Keith Thurman, even though Keith Thurman's a really excellent fighter and world champion, that when you're older and you're a senator and you got all this other stuff going on, you really don't need the money. Do you see what I'm saying? Like maybe it's harder to get up.
Well,
but he
I feel
like
we've seen Pacquiao like come into the ring and be kind of not. I don't know.
Not fully engaged.
Not fully engaged. Into the fight. And what we saw Manny come into the ring, right? And like his normal like smiling and he's really happy and stuff. And then when the ref calls him to the center and they're sitting there and he's gonna go over, protect yourself at all times, and they look at each other, Manny like flipped that switch.
Yeah, he
was like just
angry.
Like
in fact
who he is like in the ring, which is a really ferocious like boxer.
But more so than he always flips that switch, but here I even thought it was more. I saw 2 switches flip. I saw Pacquiao's switch, and he looked like, I'm angry, and I'm going to take it to this guy. And Thurman, who had come in the ring loose and free, and a lot of people we've seen in the past come against Pacquiao, and like as soon as they enter the ring, they're like, uh-oh. Well, Thurman didn't have that. Like he looked ready, in the moment, ready to go. But once he went to the center of the ring and saw Manny Pacquiao's face, that's when I saw a little break in his face of like, almost like, maybe he didn't consciously think this, but maybe in his heart he felt like, what have I done? What have I done with all the trash talk that I've been saying? Because now I have to fight him. And to Keith Thurman's credit, well, we're going to get into Keith Thurman's credit in the next video, but I thought that he fought a very excellent fight considering what he was up against. But what he was up against was truly amazing. There's been other 40 and up fighters who have done amazing things. They showed a graphic during the fight. Some of them included Larry Holmes versus Ray Mercer in 1992. Larry Holmes actually retired after losing his belts to Michael Spinks and then also getting obliterated by Mike Tyson. He came back, fought Ray Mercer, defeated him with a shocking upset. Of course, George Foreman, when he beat Michael Moore, that was a big deal. He was losing the fight the whole time, knocks him out with a single punch late in the fight. And then, of course, Bernard Hopkins did it a lot, right? We saw Bernard Hopkins against Jean Pascal. It was a notable one in 2011. Hopkins was 46. But this thing that happened with Manny Pacquiao versus Keith Thurman was different than that. First of all, it's different that I would imagine that Pacquiao was the only one favored going into the fight, even though it was ever so slight.
Right.
But also, the way that Pacquiao beat Thurman was that he just overwhelmed him from the beginning. And you're right, he almost looked like he did when he was in his prime. He wasn't quite as on as back then. Back then, the 2009 version of Manny Pacquiao would have finished Thurman pretty fast.
Yeah.
Like as hard as he was hitting him and as fast as he's on it. But Manny's 40 now. He doesn't have those same physical attributes that he had back then.
Well, and then the endurance to do.
Yeah, he also would have kept it up over
across all 12 rounds.
But this fight does remind me a little bit of when Manny Pacquiao fought in his prime. He fought Antonio Margarito. Antonio Margarito was a big guy who was a lot bigger than Pacquiao. Thurman's a lot bigger than Pacquiao. Mm-hmm. And in that fight, Pacquiao was obliterating. That's when he broke Margarito's eye. But in that fight, because Margarito was so big, he was able to absorb so much and hit back. He did hurt Pacquiao in that fight, the prime version of Pacquiao. And in this fight, too, we saw him overwhelming Thurman. Thurman weathered the storm after the first half of the fight, came back, was able to adjust to what was in front of him. Pacquiao, being 40, of course, was also probably more tired than he was against even Margarito. And it was an excellent, fun fight down the stretch. And the thing I love about Manny, I want to say this about Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao fights and always has fought the way that I would like to live life. And that's that Manny Pacquiao goes in, he doesn't have any preconceived excuses about what's about to happen. No matter what has happened in his past. I mean, we're talking about a guy who was just shockingly and destructively knocked out by Juan Manuel Marquez, doing the thing that he does, going and get people, right, when he's hurt.
Yeah.
And yet, here we are against Keith Thurman all these years later. It has to be, it seems like it's not even in his mind, right? I mean, because Pacquiao was still, even when Thurman was landing those hard punches against him, he was the same old Pacquiao. He did not let those things in his past, primarily the Marquez knockout, keep him from being Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao was still, I love about Manny Pacquiao is when you hurt Manny Pacquiao, it's almost like the worst thing you could have done. Because when you hit him, he's always like, like he's coming to get you. And then he comes and gets you. And that's just an amazing thing to see. He even had Thurman staggering and wobbling around the ring in round 10 with a tremendous hellacious body shot. His body work in this fight was particularly impressive.
Yeah, and it was the accumulation of body work.
He had put in the time. And I thought early in the fight, the announcers were kind of talking about Thurman doing some good work. But I remember leaning over to him and saying, they're missing all the body work that Pacquiao's doing right now. He is going hard to the body. That's not something that he always does. I really like to see it because then against a crafty, good boxer like Thurman, the body doesn't move as much as the head can move. Mm-hmm. And so here is what Pacquiao has left in his career. Maybe Rachel's got one more fight left on that PBC contract. Some possibilities out there include for Pacquiao's next fight, which he said if the fight would be next year. Right. There was talk of Amir Khan wanting to fight Manny Pacquiao. Amir Khan, I don't think he is technically a PBC fighter, but he's often fought with the PBC, and that fight could be made. I do like that fight as a Manny Pacquiao fan because Manny Pacquiao would have obliterated Amir Khan, and Amir Khan is a big name who has fought other big fighters. He fought Canelo, he fought Terrence Crawford. I don't know, I'm for it. I would like to watch Manny Pacquiao. How many fights
do we give Amir Khan just because he wants them?
Well, it's not just because he wants them. Amir Khan has a big name, and especially over there in the UK. He's a good fighter. Like, he beats fighters who aren't elite. He's so fast. But, yeah, he doesn't beat Manny Pacquiao. That'd be a fun fight to see just for Manny Pacquiao fans. Another strong possibility, I think, was what PBC would want, Al Heyman and company would want Pacquiao probably to fight the winner of Earl Spence versus Sean Porter, and that's an upcoming pay-per-view fight as well. We had talked about this before, about, fighters don't get the send-offs. Great fighters don't get the send-offs that we want for them, right? Mm-hmm. The great send-off for Manny Pacquiao would be him to walk away right now. Be like, see, I'm the best, whatever, and I just won. I looked awesome. You'll never see me again. But what happens usually is they keep fighting until somebody beats them. And we were talking about how Earl Spence was a guy who, has the look of a guy who can be one of the next big stars in the sport. He's already kind of proven that he is capable of that. And so fighting the winner of that fight makes sense from a PBC perspective and also maybe a perspective of just wanting Manny to fight the best until somebody beats him.
Correct. But when we talked about that before, I thought Manny was ready to retire.
No.
And now that I've seen, over the past year, I'm like, you know what? Manny wants to fight. He's still an amazing fighter. And after seeing him against Thurman, I was like, maybe he can beat Spence. So there was a time where I was like, I didn't think that was a possibility, but now I'm like, maybe he can. You know?
Definitely. I think now I'm less sure about that. I would probably say.
And it will definitely be interesting to see Spence against Porter to get more data for a Spence-Pacquiao fight.
Because if Spence beats Porter 11 rounds to 1 or whatever, then I maybe. But if it's a close fight, the way that Porter has fought Thurman close and he defeated Ian Garcia close, then Spence would be more like Keith Thurman level. These guys are all kind of at the same level. But if he obliterates him, right, then we don't know that maybe he'd be too much for Pacquiao. But again, it's hard to prepare for Manny Pacquiao. I can't say this enough. It's really hard to prepare for him. And people always think they can until they get in the ring with him, and then they're like, "What is this?" There's only one other real notable fighter that's a possibility. I think I'll have to read. Let me see if I can read this. Floyd Mayweather Jr. I guess he's a junior. So yeah, there's that fight. Floyd Mayweather Jr. was actually at the fight last night, which I thought was interesting.
In the ring for some reason, which I thought was completely like crazy. If I was Pacquiao or Thurman, actually, if I was part of their team, I'd be like, hell no, I don't need this distraction in the ring right before my 40-year-old fighter gets in the ring with Keith Thurman. Like, I don't even know how that was a thing that happened, but there he was.
I don't know either, but it is something that I think most people in boxing, when there's so much money to be had in a fight, and when you have Manny Pacquiao's active, Mayweather, he likes money a lot. I don't know if that fight would happen because I don't know if I'm Floyd Mayweather if I take that fight. And not because I don't think that Floyd would be favored, because I think he would be favored, but that I already beat Pacquiao a few years ago. Why should I subject myself to the possibility that I lose, especially considering if I'm Floyd, I'm sitting there thinking, I just watched Manny Pacquiao pretty much overwhelm Keith Thurman to the tune of probably something like 116 to 112 with a knockdown. Or with the knockdown, it's 116 to 111. But then the judges score they turn their scorecards in, and it's 115 to 112 twice, and then Glenn Feldman has it egregiously, in my opinion, 114 to 113 for Thurman. So I'm thinking, well, what if I go in there and win 7 rounds against Manny Pacquiao pretty clearly, and then they flip it the other way, right?
Yeah, I think
that's my only loss.
For Mayweather, I think the only thing there is the money. And honestly, I feel like Mayweather could make similar money by fighting with Conor McGregor again. I feel like he has other
much less dangerous fight than Manny Pacquiao.
Yeah, he has other options if he just wants to do a money grab. But otherwise, and it's not like Mayweather doesn't have a history really. At least the narrative is not that he always fights the best guys in their prime and takes whatever fight comes in. That's not like his story. It's not his narrative.
Right. So
there's not even any reason at this late date for him to do that. I just don't see how it serves him. Yeah. He already won the first one.
He's already kind of, at least right now in the present culture we live in, he's already considered the best of that generation.
Yeah,
one of the best ever. They were talking about him being a Pernell Whitaker type great, and that was surprising to me. Not because he doesn't deserve to be considered that, but just that it swung so heavily towards that after he's gone 15-0.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But this is the Manny Pacquiao show. No, this isn't Manny Pacquiao. This is Real Talk with Kelsey Rachel. But today, on Monday, after an amazing performance, Manny Pacquiao isn't just back, Rachel. I don't think he's ever left, right?
Yeah.
He hasn't lost, in my opinion, since he lost to Floyd Mayweather. I thought that was a close fight.
Right.
In a fight that we learned after. He had a hurt shoulder going into the fight. He thought they were going to let him inject him with the thing. They told him he could use it. Then right before the fight, he said, "You can't use this. That ain't right." So I do kind of want to see the rematch if it's a possibility.
Yeah, for fans, I think it'd be great. I just don't see for Mayweather, I can't see any reason why he would do that.
Yeah.
Except for money, and he has other opportunities for making money.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about Manny Pacquiao is how he doesn't move forward with negativity. He didn't come, at least publicly, he didn't come into this fight with these people hate me and, or trash talking anybody or any of this. Even when he was interviewed, when they asked him about the trash talk with Keith Thurman and stuff, he was like, "Oh, that's just promotion." And then he moves on. He doesn't even settle on it, which is like a testament to him. Mayweather's in the ring before his fight, and I doubt like it even like
I don't think it phased him. No.
Phased him at all. And
I don't think you can get in Manny Pacquiao's head.
Admire that so much because I get so caught up in like all these little things. Or I was telling you, I was like, how does somebody focus on this fight, have this training camp, because you have to be all in on it, and then next week, like he's going into the Senate for the Philippines, they said, to discuss like budget. Like that is, I mean, we just were gone for a weekend, you know, at your family reunion, and like I'm coming back this morning and I am so stressed out because I've got a lot of work to do for work that is essentially like not very important.
Yeah, comparatively to what Pacquiao does,
right.
It's completely meaningless.
On the human scale of things, like it's not important at all, and yet like I'm like sick to my stomach, stressed over it.
Yeah.
Like I just love that about Manny.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I would like to live my life the way that Manny Pacquiao fights. And I would like Real Talk with Kelsey and Rachel to be the Manny Pacquiao of YouTube boxing shows. You know, we've come a long way since we started this, Rachel, which was just mostly out of fun and partly out of something for Kelsey to do in recovery, right? And it's been we're really grateful for you watching our show. Thanks for liking, commenting, and subscribing. Keep on coming back, and we'll keep making the show.